Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ngozi and today I will be talking about the subtotal laparoscopic hysterectomy procedure that I underwent in 2019. Now, there is a fair number of women out there who would never have to deal with any complications with regards to their reproductive system, reproductive organs over the entire course of their life. That's possible. However, there is a large percentage of women out there who eventually go on to encounter one complication or the other from the moment your period has made an appearance on the scene. And for some of us, we are faced with the decision to remove our uterus, whether it be to improve the quality of life or to save our lives altogether. Now, if these topics interest you, then stick around. I will be talking about what led up to having to make that decision and how I have felt since then, right after this. Hi everyone, welcome back. I have had a subtotal laparoscopic hysterectomy procedure done. This was done in 2019 and after I had had 3 children, and I'm thankful for that because there are many women out there who are facing this decision and haven't actually had any children. Now, of course, in today's society, we now have other options like freezing your eggs, using a surrogate and so on. And that could be quite expensive and, have its own trauma that the body has to go through in itself. So of course, as is the case with anything, if anything can be done naturally, it's usually the best way to go. But once you have to, have any kind of intervention, it gets complicated. And now if you've not had children and you're faced with having to remove your womb, that could be a very difficult choice to make, especially when it has to do with saving your life. But just remember, there are other options to having children, even adoption. Okay. Now, in my case, I'd had 3 children. I hadn't had any miscarriages, but I dealt with a lot of fibroids. And fibroids had been the main issue that I had dealt with just during pregnancy and after pregnancy. With the last C-section I had, my last child, I had my tubes tied, so that was the form of contraception that I had. And of course, I was never going to have any more children. And I believed that I wouldn't have to even deal with the fibroids, as the case may be, and just kind of like, sneak off into life and be done with hospital. Now, it wasn't the case. It started to sneak up on me ever so gradually. I started becoming really tired. I lost all the weight after having all my kids, but then it started to pile on around my abdomen area, my lower abdomen. I would have a lot of pain, just pain on a daily basis. If you would depress my tummy in any angle, somewhere, somehow, there would be pain. And then I had really heavy periods, okay? Back-to-back periods, weeks on end, sometimes months, and that became a difficult way to live with my family, with my husband. It was affecting intimacy. It just became burdensome. All this while, I didn't know it was related to the fibroids. I just thought my periods are bad now. Women go through a lot of changes and fail to realize that this is something you can look into and take care of and live a much better, wholesome life, okay? I just assumed that the periods are just bad, and you slowly but surely begin to think it's normal when it isn't. It's gone from a 3-day period to a weekly period to a month's length period of a period, and it just gets so bad. And suddenly you wake up one morning and you think, how did this happen? The next thing I began to deal with regards to the fibroids is a protruding belly. At one point I went to a meeting and we were all stood there having a conversation, and someone pulled out a chair really kindly and said, you can sit on this. They thought I was pregnant. I wasn't. Hadn't been pregnant in, 4 years or 5 at the time. Anyway, the next thing I know is I started developing patches on my legs. So if I bumped something, a soft corner, an edge, or while riding my bike, I get scratched by my chain or something, I would get hurt and the bruise would never go away. And I just thought, oh, well, I think I just bruise easily now. And that wasn't the case. It was just all bruising all the way. I'm one shade from head to toe, but my legs became patchy and it was unsightly. I couldn't understand what was going on. I thought, these are changes that my body have just taken on, and I just accepted them. I just accepted them like that. Besides having my legs also waterlogged all the time, I started having a lot of water retention. The one symptom I couldn't push away over the years was cystitis. And cystitis is an inflammation of the bladder, usually caused by an infection, it says. It's a common type of urinary tract infection. It says it might get better by itself in a few days. Drinking plenty of water and taking painkillers can help. Some people need to take antibiotics. It says you need to pee more often, and there is pain in your lower tummy. In my case, it wasn't just pain in my lower tummy. I started to bleed. I've never had cystitis before. This just started happening. I would pee and blood would come through. The area would burn. I'd never had any infection of that sort. I'd had a couple of UTIs when I was pregnant, but this was a serious issue. I was bleeding when I would pee. Eventually, I contacted the doctor. I came in and I was given a course of antibiotics as is detailed. The first set of antibiotics didn't work. Well, it did as soon as I started taking them. As soon as I was done, the cystitis came back. It was so painful, I couldn't sit, I couldn't stand, and the pain was so bad. One night I had to go into accident and emergency. I left the house at about 2 a.m. in the morning because it was just impossible. Again, I was prescribed antibiotics. Took the antibiotics, started working. As soon as I was done, the cystitis came back. Now they said they need to look into something deeper. They explained that cystitis in this case, when it becomes recurring, might mean it's a symptom of something else that's underlying. So it's not cystitis, it is, but it's as a result of something else going on because it's supposed to clear up with antibiotics. They gave me another set of antibiotics anyway. That didn't work. And then it was official. They referred me to the hospital for an assessment, and I had to have an MRI done to have a good look and see what the problem was because of the bleeding. I was so scared, you guys. I was so scared. Eventually, I came home on a Friday. So it was 2 days after the scan. I came home on a Friday, and when I got to the house, I had a voicemail. The voicemail was from the GP's secretary. And she said, well, we tried to contact you, and the doctor wanted to talk to you about your results. They're back from the hospital. So we will be calling you again 10 o'clock on Monday morning. I had to sit the entire weekend waiting for this call. It was horrible. Oh my God. Like, seriously, why would they do that though? Not good. Why? Why not just call me on Monday morning? See, that was really painful. Well, Monday morning came along, I sat by the phone, and 10 o'clock it rang, and the doctor said to me, yes, the results are back, and you have a very enlarged uterus. It's very bulky. It's filled with, fibroids, and they're pushing against the organs in your body, and the bladder is being squished as well. This is why I've been having cystitis. And so I have to come in. I had nowhere else to go on this one anymore. I couldn't avoid all the symptoms over the years, and I had to come in, and he said that they would, figure out what to do. So I came in with my husband, and he said, this is what's going on. I have to be referred for an operation to actually have the uterus removed, but it was my decision to make. They never impose it on you. It's also a very expensive operation. And at the end of the day, I am under the NHS. And so it isn't something that they're very quickly going to throw at you. But certainly I was now having my quality of life had now become evidently affected. So I accepted, and I was referred to the NHS General Hospital, and they then contacted me within days and said that they were occupied, and there was a column on the side in the letter of private hospitals that I am allowed to contact based on the fact that they are full, and make a choice. Whoever I contact would reach out to me and give me what available dates they have to see me and take it from there. 3 Shires Hospital was right at the top of the list. 3 Shires Hospital, Northampton. Take note of it, okay? I get to say the name of this hospital because the process was amazing. Just amazing, okay? Now, my husband and I had prayed, and this is really important. You know, when it comes to your body and it comes to things like this, you can't take your faith for granted. It's a serious matter. And, you know, I didn't want to fall into the hands of someone who was going to not do the best job possible. You know, yes, if you have underlying health issues that could compromise the procedure, and if you have the wrong, you know, consultant, things could go wrong as well. And my husband had informed me, as a clinical practitioner that he is, that a lot of women come in with a lot of complications after having this procedure, and they have to be on medication for the rest of their lives. They need this, they need that, there's some pain, they're just in pain constantly, and instead of this procedure improving the quality of your life, it's actually made it even worse or just enhanced the problems you had before, plus an operation and your missing uterus. So it was a very important decision to make. And finally, we just said, you know what, we'll go for the first one. And it was 3 Shires Hospital, Northampton. We contacted them and they said we would hear from them. They wrote in and said we need to come in, and this was our appointment. And that happened within the space of a week. It was that quick. We got in there, and when we were called into the room, we were to see this doctor. He's a German, and he sat us down and he said, you know who I am? And we thought, yes, you're Dr. So and so. And we're here to see you. And he said, no, but do you know who I am? Have you Googled me? Did you Google me? And I thought, who says that? Did I Google you? What are you, a star? Anyway, he says, did you Google me? And my husband and I said, no, we didn't. I felt like a naughty pupil who didn't do her homework. And I thought, no, I didn't. We just were given your name. Appointment was made and it was you. And he said, well, I am one of the pioneers of this procedure. We're going to take absolute care of you. I was like, oh my God. This is amazing. Wow. And I thought, okay. In that moment, every fear I had felt at the time and just kind of like that bland feeling of now what, you know, it just went away. He just instilled that confidence and he said, this is what he does. And listen, you have got nothing to worry about. This will be taken care of. You know, just the way he spoke to us and the fact that he is a pioneer of the procedure, that was huge. So after a few consultations and, you know, internal examinations and so on, I think I had 3 of those. A date was booked and I had to fast for 3 days running up to the day. I was told not to eat 24 hours before, but I did a 3-day fast anyway and drank lots of water. So don't get me wrong, don't quote me. And then my sister had come over specifically just because of this operation all the way from West Africa, Nigeria, to come and be with me through the process. My husband, bless his heart, was having to hold down the home front, shuttling between the hospital, the kids, his job, and my sister came in and, you know, really solidified the balance of making sure I had all-round care. And on the morning of the day I arrived, the lady on the side of me on the bed said to me, could you confirm your name and address? And while I was doing that, just about doing that, the anesthetist had given me an injection, and the next thing I just remember is just waking up. That was it. In a blink of an eye, I just woke up and someone was like just tapping my cheek and saying, here's some water, you're all right now, here's some water. And I thought, oh my goodness, it's done. I'd never been under general anesthesia before. Every operation I'd had was an epidural. So this was the first time I'd experienced that. So I thought, wow. And then I felt a little bit sore down below, you know, and thought, oh, it's happened, it's done. So I'll quickly explain what the procedure was. You've got your fallopian tubes, you've got your cervix, you've got your vagina, you've got the uterus, the ovaries, and then in the uterus, I had all these fibroids and they were huge. So the laparoscopic procedure cuts out just the uterus, leaving the ovaries, fallopian tubes, cervix and vagina. So there were no major cuts, just the laparoscopic instruments that are inserted through 5 incisions, and the unwanted bits are completely removed. So you heal a lot quicker. Now they left the ovaries because it sort of allows your skin to remain supple. You're still, having the estrogen coming through. Your skin is still supple. You're still feeling well. Occasionally you might have pain as if you're having a period, but that lasted for about 6 months to a year, and then it was done. But I never had a period. You just have a bit of a pain, like an ache, like, oh, is my cycle here? But nothing follows after that. And it was pretty much, onward sailing after that. There was no problems, no complications. But I did started to have the menopausal symptoms within that first and second year. We're going on 4 years soon. By October this year, I'll be clocking 4 years. But within 1 to 5 years of having this procedure done, it is said that you would go into full menopause. Am I there yet? I started having those experiences in the first year. First and second year, some hot flushes here and there. My moods were messed up completely, and tiredness, just serious tiredness. Okay, I was really beat, really exhausted all the time. And so my husband then sourced out some really good sort of herbal remedies for me. I'm not in any way recommending this for you, but this is what I took, and this is what sort of really stabilized me, and I have felt as good as new and have felt that way ever since. So my husband had sourced this sort of herbal remedy. It's like a natural products from a company called Holland and Barrett. Now listen, I am not selling, okay? This is a new channel, as you can see if you're watching in real time, obviously, but I'm just saying that this is the product that I take. The main ingredient is black cosh. Now, in case you don't find a product like this and you're watching from, say, a different part of the world, then just remember that the main ingredient is black cosh. I only take 1 tablet of this once a week, and sometimes I completely forget, and I'm still fine. This is what the tablet looks like if you look at my fingernail, you can see in comparison the size of the pill. And I just take the one every Tuesday, maybe every Wednesday, depends. If I forget, then I just take it when I remember. And sometimes I've gone weeks without taking it. And then I'd remember when I start to play up. My husband would say, have you taken your medicine? And I'll be like, no. And I'm fine. So I eat well, I sleep well. And when you take the medicine, it's like you've just got a new set of batteries. It's like you're a preteen, but an adult at the same time. It's wonderful. I have no periods, I have no complications, and I don't take for granted how much of a miracle that is, because a lot of women, on a serious note, are now dealing with complications after having any kind of this sort of procedure done, whether it's a full-on hysterectomy, a vaginal hysterectomy, and so on and so forth. There are complications. It is serious, but in my case, I managed to scale through. Does it mean that everything is perfect? No. 3 C-sections, a minor operation in my arm. I'll talk about that another day. Having this subtotal laparoscopic hysterectomy done. After having all these procedures done, they are all traumatic to the body, to your frame. You'll never be the same again, but you can certainly do a lot to keep yourself intact and repair yourself as you go along. So this is what I do. I go for very long walks, 1 hour, 2 hour walks, 3 hour walks by the river. It's beautiful. It rejuvenates me, and I eat well. Dieting can be a big problem when you're dealing with menopausal issues. So you've got to be very careful with that. You have to just live well. You have to eat well, and you have to sleep well, and you have to cut out on stress so that your recovery process is manageable. So that's how it was for me, and for those of you watching who clearly have an interest in this topic, I'm hoping that you make the right decision and that you find the best surgeon, the best consultant, and that at the end of it all, you'll come out with perfect results and a much better improved life. Well, thank you so very much for watching, and I will talk to you again soon in the next video. Take care. Bye.